Did you Did you order your Brock Osweiler like normal shipping, or did you overnight it?
Oh, you know damn well I'm overnighting that. There's going to be a massive rush on those Brock Osweiler jerseys. I need that before next Sunday.
Yeah, I figured I had to overnight it as well, but I'm just thinking it's inevitable that you're going to get it tomorrow while it's hot, and then in a couple of weeks, you're probably going to have to burn it because he's going to fuck you over.
Oh, absolutely. Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he?
Absolutely.
All right, let's get loaded because this is the Loaded Box Podcast.
Where we never finish first because we finish last.
Oh.
It's a sober box podcast for me nowadays.
I don't think that we want to call it that. I think if anything, we need to call it the Hungover Box Podcast.
Oh, I'm going to be sober for the next 2 weeks is what I'm saying.
Oh, we're going to have to be because DJ and I put on some bender-ass weekends right now. But hey, you know what's nice about being hungover on a Sunday?
Football.
You get to watch football all damn day. So that's what we did because we are back. Yep. NFL, Week 6, instant reactions. And DJ, you talked about it right away. The Miami Dolphins, led by Brock Osweiler. Can you believe it?
I love it. I'm so happy. I had a dream that this happened.
Well, let's kick it off with our instant reactions. If you're new to the show, we go through each game. We talk about some fantasy implications. We talk about just like the teams in general. Just whatever we want to talk about from that game. We each get to pick a topic, and then we dive into it a little bit. So, DJ, the Bears lose to the Dolphins in overtime, 31-28. What do you got?
Your instincts is to even say that the Dolphins lost. Like, that's just what you wanted
that's
to
when
say.
You know it's bad. It's when, like, without me just reading the score, like, I just instantly say, oh, the Bears defeat the... Oh, shit, wait, what happened?
No, my single syllable instant reaction here is good looking out, brah. Thanks for being the Bears. Really appreciate that. I don't like the Dolphins at all just because you do, but I do like them if they're playing the Bears.
Yeah.
On a side note, that's all I got to say about that. My Trubisky prediction for this fantasy season starting to gain some wheels, gain some traction here. 316 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 47 yards on the ground.
Man.
Big day for my boy, and I had him in my lineup today. Two lineups, I think. Yeah,
Trubisky looked good, and I don't know. Teams have basically decided to attack the corner that's not named Xavier Howard for the Dolphins, and they are having success. And today was no different because it was basically Taylor Gabriel and found him multiple times. Anthony Miller was wide open on a 3rd and 10 touchdown. Tariq Cohen, man, I've always kind of liked him, but being able to watch and like really focus on a whole game, that dude is just so dynamic. He is unbelievable. And,
there he goes right now.
And unfortunately, he had a fumble that kind of cost him the game. But besides that, putting all that together with Trubisky in only his second year, the guy has flashes. He's not there yet, but there are flashes. So I like what they have with him. I totally
back-to-back games.
Get that.
Plus, Allen Robinson had, a touchdown and some yards as well.
Yeah,
so.
And he was still good. Absolutely. My instant reaction is all-time low because I think even despite the win, this might be an all-time low for Miami Dolphins fans because I am waiting. I'm counting down the seconds. I've stayed off social media and Twitter because my biggest fear, I follow a lot of Dolphins things. My biggest fear is that there's going to be people just out there saying, Brock Osweiler needs to start. He needs to do this. Tannehill couldn't do that. He threw for 380 yards. He threw for 3 touchdowns. He had a comeback win. Once again, so much of that chunk yardage and those touchdowns were on horizontal plays. It was not sustainable. Brock Osweiler still threw 2 interceptions. I know that Tannehill isn't the answer. I get that. But neither is Brock Osweiler.
Nope.
Say no to him. Stay with Tannehill this year. Let's not overreact. That's my biggest thing. Let's not overreact to a win. That game went back and forth. It was unbelievable. We were looking at like the ESPN stats as to like the probability of winning. Both teams at one point were like in the 90s, late in the game. It was just a stupid game, a fun game. The game was unbelievable. Dolphins fans don't deserve that fun of a game, but we got one. So, hey, I'm not going to complain too much. I just want to say let's not overreact to what Brock Osweiler did today.
Gives me more confidence with the Bears moving forward. I don't think that they're still going to be an average team. I still think they're going to finish around 8-8. I don't think the Dolphins will end up being that good, but they do it. They're in a favorable conference, and getting that win is kind of big for them because it's not going to take much the way the AFC South is playing to get into a wild card spot.
I know that's kind of scary.
So,
let's move on to the Falcons, who beat the Buccaneers 34-29. What do you got?
My instant reaction here is nailed it. I told you to stack Jameis with Cameron Brate. Jameis went off, dominated.
Yeah.
Don't even remember his stat line, but
395 and 4.
Exactly. Just pulled it up. And then Brate, you know what? Only had one catch for 15 yards, but that one catch was a touchdown, was a tutty, and that is a successful day for a tight end. So lock that in right there.
Yeah.
I nailed my stack.
How do you feel about that? Like, O.J. Howard was supposed to be gone for such a long time, like 2 to 4 weeks, and now he's back. He gets even more catches. He gets a touchdown as well. That blends in perfectly because my instant reaction is sweet, sweet fantasy baby.
Oh, yeah.
Because, man, Winston had the stats we just talked about. Ryan goes for over 350 and 3 touchdowns. Tevin Coleman gets a receiving touchdown. Both the tight ends for the Buccaneers get touchdowns. Godwin goes for 50-plus and a touchdown. Julio gets 143. You know damn well he wasn't scoring.
That fucking guy. I hate Matt Ryan so much.
It's unbelievable. And then, Hooper scores. But then, on this bad note of the fantasy perspective of this, you got Mike Evans, who has under 60 receiving yards and no touchdown. And then Calvin Ridley goes for under 50, but he gets hurt right away. So I still think you always play your guys from these teams. I think that's like a no-brainer at this point. Neither of them have a defense, so they're always going to be in these shootout matchups. You just want guys from these teams at this point. And I'm like you said, if you're streaming a tight end, look into Howard, look into Brate. Those are great guys now that Winston is back, and they're going to be throwing the ball.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Is that all you got for that one?
Yep.
Sweet. Let's move on to the Steelers. Basically, last-second touchdown to Antonio Brown put them over the Bengals 28-21. What do you got?
Yeah, that was cheating, by the way. Did you see that?
Okay, before we do our instant reactions, the Atlanta Falcons are the first team that I ever see that does that play. Sometimes they'll line up Julio a little bit farther back. They snap the ball. That first receiver takes out the defensive back, and then they throw it to Julio, who's running right behind. But in this case, it was Antonio Brown, and he scored. How is that not interference? Like, isn't
it should have been. It's just a missed call.
It's a great offensive play call if it works and doesn't get called. But I'm really confused as to how it doesn't get called. And
it should have been.
I'll talk about the next one in our next game, but go ahead with your instant reaction.
All right. So my instant reaction is Big Ben thoughts. I don't know if you heard. I saw this when I was watching the Red Zone, but they showed Big Ben's comments after the game today. And he said that James Conner did a really good job in his last game. In his last game, he said, and he followed that up by saying, because, Le'Veon's coming back or whatever. So he's like, he did a great job. And like he's retiring or he's quitting or something like that. Like he's not even going to be in the team anymore.
Yeah, like that was it for him.
That's just a really, really weird thing to say. And it's like, if you're Conner, like, fuck you, Big Ben, you asshole. Like, I've been playing well and you just dismiss me. Like, it's my last game.
Well, yeah, because I didn't even see what he got. He had like 130 yards and a touchdown, didn't he?
But he had 111 and 2 touchdowns.
And 2 touchdowns. Okay, so even better. But, he had a great game. Juju had a great game. AB with that last touchdown had a great game. If you throw Le'Veon Bell back into this, are the Steelers, like, in that echelon with maybe New England and Kansas City? Like, are they that next team now?
I just think that they're so inconsistent that I don't know what to expect. So from week to week, the way that locker room was falling apart at one point. I guess we'll see what happens. The other thing I was going to say is if you're a Conner owner with Le'Veon Bell, without Le'Veon Bell on your team, what do you do with him? Are you nervous when Le'Veon comes back? You got to stash him in case Le'Veon gets hurt? What do you do with him?
Yeah, you got to stash him, or if you haven't already, maybe you just end up maybe you try to deal him to the guy that has Le'Veon. I don't know, because let's say Le'Veon comes back. Yeah, maybe he's staying in shape, but they always talk about football shape versus just being like an athletic shape. So yeah, maybe he gets hurt right away. And if you treat Conner same way you treated T.J. Yeldon once Leonard Fournette was back, Leonard Fournette went out right away. Guess who was the pickup on the waiver wire? It was Fournette, or it was Yeldon. So now you got to do the same thing with Conner, basically. So yeah, I feel like you either have to try to trade him or you have to stash him for sure.
Yep. By the way, the Broncos just scored a touchdown, so they're going to be down only 3 points right now. So then it looks like they're going to onside in order to try to tie it up. But
you're going to get the instant of all instant reactions to that one.
And they gave the points to the Rams on accident because they're so used to the Rams scoring all the time.
Yeah, because why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
My instant reaction to that Steelers game is seller's market, because do you have any thoughts on potentially selling high on a guy like Tyler Boyd? Because he put up another 62 yards and 2 touchdowns today. the game last week he kind of cooled down, but the 2 games before that he had over 100 yards in both games and a touchdown in one of them. You still think when you look at that offense, fantasy-wise, it's A.J. Green, it's Joe Mixon, and now, especially with the tight end flux, it's Tyler Boyd after that.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a good time to sell high on Boyd if you don't think he can continue this kind of production.
I mean, as far as Cincinnati, they're another team. Defense isn't very good. They're going to have to throw the ball in every game that they're in. And the way Dalton's playing, he's actually playing really well. Yeah. I mean, I don't hate Tyler Boyd at all. It's kind of like the Falcons situation with Ridley. He's had a couple down games. He actually was injured, obviously, today.
Yeah.
But I expect a bounce back from him once he gets back out there. I mean, he was off to 47 yards right away, I think.
Right away, yeah.
Boyd is... I don't know how high you could actually sell because I don't know if people would be buying him, but certainly shopping him for... You're always looking for running backs, so certainly trying to shop him for a decent running back wouldn't be a terrible idea, especially after a big game like that.
Yeah, I like him because of the fact that, I mean, there is A.J. Green, and he's going to command that attention. The Julio and Ridley reference is spot on. But at the same token, it's like, he just had 2 touchdowns. And prior to that, he had a bunch of 100-yard games. So, yeah, like, someone might see those 2 touchdowns and say, yeah, if you can get a running back for him, if you have enough depth at wide receiver, I think this might be the time to pull the trigger on something like that. Yeah, he's probably still going to be good, but I don't know, man. If you're looking to try to make a little bit of a move, maybe you're 500, you want to get into that playoff push, I would consider trying to sell Tyler Boyd right now.
Oh, I'm hungover.
Well, with that, let's move on to the Browns game because they look pretty damn hungover today. They lost 38-14 to the LA Chargers. What do you got?
Finally is my single syllable instant reaction. I've been hanging on to Njoku, wanting to just waiting for him to have a good week. Like, I know he's going to have it eventually, and I don't want to put him out there for somebody else to grab. So finally, he had 7 catches for 55 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
And if you look at his schedule going forward, I think you might have posted it to our Twitter account, or somebody did, his future schedule on Twitter.
Yep.
It's like the Buccaneers, Steelers, Chiefs, I should say.
He's going to be in some
Falcons,
high-scoring
Bengals.
games. Yeah.
It's like a bunch of defenses that you can literally just torch. I mean, obviously, all these offenses are really good, but it's going to be high-scoring games. I'm hanging on to him with those matchups, and I'm not letting him go because people are going to – you can literally stream him for freaking next 6 weeks.
Yeah. Nope, I'm all about him. I hung on to him in a couple of different leagues because of those matchups. And, yeah, I was so happy to see him score because I just feel like kind of like a shooter in basketball. You just needed to get a couple of layups. You need some points. Yeah. The dude just needed to find the end zone to remember what it was like and get back in there. And, yeah, the schedule that you rattled off, that's perfect for – well, you might not stream him, but if you have him, you can feel a little bit more confident using him now.
Some people may have dropped him the way he was playing. Colin Cowherd's going to have a field day with Baker Mayfield tomorrow.
Oh, God, yeah, I don't want to talk about Baker today.
I love
it. Though you had talked about the refs missing that interference call in the Steelers game for offensive interference. So I was saying there's another blatant one. In this Chargers-Browns game, did you see, I think it was the second Tyrell Williams touchdown, the left tackle moved like a good half second before the snap. Oh, it was terrible. Just a terrible call. Myles Garrett quit rushing the passer because he thought like the play was dead. And then Rivers throws it up, and it was just over from there.
That was the 3 guys, right?
No, that was the one after that, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't remember the order of how he scored. It wasn't the 3-guy touchdown. It was just a different one. But,
3-guy touchdown.
3-way touchdown. My instant reaction is silent assassin because Melvin Gordon every single year is ignored when it comes to like talking about these top-tier running backs. And him being like a potential guy that can lead your fantasy squad at the running back position. He continues to get it done every single year. Another 150 total yards today, 3 touchdowns, and just 20 touches. He got it done in such limited action. Like Austin Eckler was out there all the time because they just didn't need him, but Gordon was crushing it. We're looking like back. I would look back at some of like the previous rankings. Guys like Leonard Fournette, Dalvin Cook, Kareem Hunt, like they all had like so much potential and like that ability to like, okay, if I have this guy, he can be my team's leading running back. There's no reason Melvin Gordon shouldn't have been in that conversation, if not ahead of some of those guys. I'm going to be on the Melvin Gordon hype train until he hits like age 30 or 31. I just can't get enough of that guy. I have him on a couple of squads, and he's crushing it.
Next.
Ooh, the Seahawks and Raiders. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this one because in London, the Seahawks just dispounded the Raiders 27-3. What do you got?
My instant reaction, single syllable, instant reaction here is my bad. I told everyone to bet the Raiders. I had a bad week this week. Okay, I'm 0-3. I'm gonna just fess up to it. I had a bad week. I didn't account for the fact that they have just quit on John Gruden and this team. Gruden might not make it past this year, honestly. He must have been fine on his flight because clearly he coached this game and his head was full on because they played like garbage. But you know what? Let's bounce back tonight. We're gonna parlay the over 58.5. Don't care. All the points, Chiefs, Patriots, all the points, slice too short, and Patriots. We're parlaying the Patriots. What is this spread there?
I like how life's too short got thrown into that.
What?
Life's too short to bet unders.
Yeah, life's too short to bet the under. Gotta score touchdowns, baby. So 3.5. Patriots are gonna win by more than that, and 58.5. It's going way over. Touchdowns.
All right, thanks for that advice because 99% of the people that are going to get to this point in the podcast, the Sunday night game is probably already completed.
Well, I'm talking about myself. I don't give a shit about everybody else.
DJ's had to talk himself into it. My instant reaction is very similar to yours because it's the word stay. The Raiders should stay in London. Carr throws for a measly 140. Carr throws for a measly 142 yards. Lynch thought he was going to have a nice bounce-back game. He goes for 45 yards. The Raiders need to just literally just blow this up. I'm not sure if that includes getting rid of Derek Carr or what it's going to be like. You don't really have a good feel on him because they're not surrounding him with anything. If you think surrounding him with Jordy Nelson and Marshawn Lynch is something that you want to do moving forward to like create a sustainable offense, that's not right. But I really think the Raiders need to blow it up. And maybe that involves, they already got rid of Khalil Mack. Maybe there's another piece on that team that they can move. I don't even know who that is at this point. But they just need to start building for the future because there's no chance that they're competing in that division this year with the Chargers and Chiefs especially. And I think the Broncos are like a whole, I don't even know the word for it. They're like on the next level of where the Raiders are. They're in no position to compete. They need to just start looking to the future, in my opinion.
Well, the Raiders just brought in the oldest team in the entire fucking league. So I don't know what they were doing. No. That was bad. It was just bad.
Yeah. Let's move on to the Vikings beating the Cardinals 27-17. What do you have?
Oh, that love and Thielen is my single syllable. Get a chance to sing for y'all, my beautiful voice. Obviously, Thielen dominated, so I just wanted to sing that song because I've been just wanting to do it. But somebody needs to stop this goddamn white boy. Like, all right, eventually he's going to be stopped, but everybody's still tricked from week to week. I'm telling you what. He's got that Jordy Nelson effect transitioning from the Raiders. But also, I feel like the Vikings are still, I feel good because Cardinals are not a good team.
Oh, they hung in there.
And they hung in and they played tough. And I just feel like the Vikings, it makes me feel better with my prediction about the Vikings winning less than 10 games. I just feel like the average play is now becoming a trend for the Vikings. And moving forward, that's not going to, pan out very nicely if you keep playing like that because the teams get better.
Well, what about, so I know that they didn't look all that impressive today. They got a double-digit win, but yeah, like you said, it could have been a lot better. But the one thing that was lacking for them was getting it done on the ground. And Latavius Murray looked a little bit like old AP for a while. They were just shoving people off. He got a touchdown, 100-plus yards. Like, is that something they can build on there with that? Like, I had said that the next couple of games they play against, it's the Cardinals and the Jets. Who better to get the run game going against the Cardinals? They can give it up. So maybe it was like a fact that they were just playing them. I don't know.
That's just their weakness. It's kind of like the Cardinals can't stop the run. The Vikings aren't going to be able to run for most of the year. That's just a good matchup for them in that game for them. A good time for them to be able to run, but I wouldn't see that trending anywhere near that because the offensive line just isn't good enough to keep doing that.
Yeah, I still think they need Cook back. That's going to be a huge addition if they can get him back. My instant reaction is never doubt, and it's about Thielen, just like yours was about Thielen. You can't doubt this guy. In our preview podcast, I said to stack in daily fantasy sports, I said stack Kirk Cousins with Stephon Diggs. and I said use Stiggs or Thielen or Stiggs. Use Stiggs. Use Diggs or Thielen, whichever one you have the better feel with. And I said that I had felt better with Diggs because at some point Thielen wasn't going to be able to.
He's black.
Well, I can't say that word out loud.
Oh, I did.
But at some point someone's going to stop him. But now he's got 100 plus yards in all 6 games. He's got 4 touchdowns. He's on pace. I don't like saying on pace at this point in the season, but he's on pace for over 1,900 receiving yards. And my stack didn't even turn out that bad. Like, Cousins didn't crush it today, but that rushing touchdown sort of saved me a little bit. So hopefully you took the stack, but used it a little bit differently and just avoided Diggs, used Thielen, because, man, you can't stop that guy right now. He's unbelievable.
So a little story time here. Because we're going to bounce back to, it's not related to anything you said besides the fact that I just said Diggs is black. So I took my son to get a haircut yesterday, and this old white hag was getting his hair, and she's asking, like, it's his birthday tomorrow, and we have a birthday party for yesterday. So I took him to get his haircut yesterday morning. She was asking, what kind of birthday party are you going to have? Are you going to have a Latino birthday party?
Yes.
I almost murdered this chick. Almost murdered this old white bitch, just assuming that he's Latino and I'm Latino. I don't even care. You just assuming that I'm Latino is ridiculous. I'm half black. But she's just like, I'm like, no, bitch, it's a Mickey Mouse party. Like, give me a fucking break. Are you kidding me with that? That's like the worst thing ever. How do you have the gall to say, are you gonna have a Latino? What is that? What is a Latino birthday party? What does that even mean?
There are piñatas everywhere.
Yeah, I guess.
No,
Jesus Christ,
I think that's awesome because, like, just knowing you for as long as I have, there's been so many people that have confused you as whether it's Puerto Rican or Mexican, whatever it is.
But they usually ask.
But I love this, that you're 30 and that's happened. This happened, How old is your son turning, like 3 or 4?
3.
Yeah, and this already happening to him. He's going to have a long life of this happening. I love it.
Oh, she almost died right then.
Let's talk about a team who may have died today because they still only have 1 win on the entire year, and that's the Colts. They lost to the Jets, 42-34.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
You're good.
All right, so my instant reaction, single syllable instant reaction, is Return of the Mac. Now we're getting into the music.
We've been doing music last couple of weeks.
You missed one earlier when you said stay. You could have done that Sam Smith song where it was stay with me.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
Come on, bro.
We'll rewind
You got a chance. Mac was back with 12 carries for 89 yards. Great average right there. It's about 8 yards per carry. Somewhere in that ballpark. Makes me so happy to see this. I've been wanting to drop him kind of, but I'm like, I'm going to stash and wait and see. But stashing him on my bench. He immediately comes out. Gets some carries, goes for 89 yards. That gets me excited. Looked healthy. Depending on matchups, he'll start getting used in the pass game as well. But depending on matchups, start considering using Mack, and he'll be a good fill-in for some bye week guys as well.
Yeah,
I'm excited about Marlon Mack.
That's really similar to my instant reaction because mine is Naheem the Nightmare. Because Naheem Hines has been reliable the last few weeks in both half and full PPR leagues. He was like the top waiver wire guy for a while there. And if you used him this week, oh man, you're going to be regretting it because he only had 3 carries on the ground. He only had 2 catches on 3 targets. Dropped a touchdown. Hopefully when you had him, you were only relying on him as like a fill-in guy.
Yeah.
But I can speak from the league that I have him in. I kind of have to rely on him. And that kind of sucks now because, like you said, return of the Mac. And that is going to cut into Hines's probably the number of snaps he has, probably the number of targets he gets. So hopefully he was just like a fill-in guy that you can move forward with in like bye weeks and like if you're really struggling to find a guy, you can kind of plug him in. But man, I don't think you want anything more than that. I don't think you can rely on him anymore like you could the last 2 or 3 weeks as a starter. Those days are done. I think Mac's back. Obviously, you do too. That was your instant reaction.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk a little R words and Panthers. The racial slurs knocked off the Panthers 23-17. What do you got?
My single syllable instant reaction, just really quick, is fun cheese. Devin Funches, I told you last on Wednesday or whatever day it was we released the podcast, just gave you my gut feeling on fun cheese. I said it felt like a fun cheese game. He goes up, makes one of the coolest catches this year, snatching it from that guy's face. It was like a Devontae Parker catch that he was doing last year with Jay Cutler. 5 for
What
74
a
yards.
terrible reference, first of all. You get to say Moss if you want to. You
He did it a couple. Yeah, but that was
like
that was the only way Devontae Parker could catch the ball last year is by staying in somebody's face mask. 5 for 74 on a touchdown. Gave you another good one. Good bargain, so you're welcome on that. But that's all I have to say about that game.
Yep, and I am taking a hard pass on that game. So let's go over to the Rams and the Broncos because
no,
as I look
one
here, oh, I did.
Texans Bills.
Oh, you don't let me. Oh, yeah. Why would I ever want to skip that one?
No, I'm so excited to talk about this one.
Texans beat the Bills 20-13. What do you got?
My instant reaction here is Little Dick Boy because his last name literally translates to Dick Boy. Little Nathan Peterman. This guy is just a running joke. Like, look, I'm making one right now. He is a running joke. No matter what happens, no matter what, when this guy comes on the field, you know shit's about to go down.
Yeah.
Like, you know he's about to fuck something up. He throws a pick six, of course, when they're tied, 13-13, I think it was. Throws a pick six and then follows up promptly with another interception on the next possession. So it all started with him replacing Ty God, and now that he replaced Ty God, he's being spited by Ty God because of that.
Right. Same instant reaction, just different word usage. I'll add he now has 9 career interceptions compared to 3 touchdowns. Like you said, 2 more interceptions today.
Oh, that's the wrong ratio.
Well, big time. Peterman, Bills, even the Texans to an extent. Get off my television. I don't want to see you. I'm glad I didn't even, like, if you had Red Zone today, I'm guessing you probably didn't even see the game. So, okay, now we can move on to a team.
Sean Watson stinks, by the way.
Ooh, you've been saying that.
Stinks. He stinks.
Rams, Broncos. Rams win 23-20. What do you got?
Man, I know his last name is Gurley, but I'm going to call him Todd Man. Currently has over 160 yards rushing. I can erase that. He went over 200 yards rushing. Yep. And you drafted him first, whatever, second. In a fantasy league, you are just loving. Like, you go into every week just probably with your balls hanging out. I don't want to face the Todd Gurley guy in my fantasy playoffs because you're just coming in with your big nuts on the ground, just dropping it on everybody's face because you know you're going to get probably 20 to 30 points out of him every damn week.
Yeah, pretty amazing what he's doing, especially so Cooks was back, Kupp was back, even though Kupp got hurt, but we had talked before the podcast. Robert Woods was fine again today.
Robert Woods is awesome. I love that guy.
They got so many guys, and today wasn't one of their games where they're putting up like mid-30s to 40s in points, and they still are getting it done fantasy-wise. And Todd Gurley is just, like you said, he's the man. he's Todd Manley. I don't know what else you can add to that. I'm guilty of, for some reason, was a little bit higher on David Johnson than I should have been. He's been okay. But, man, I took him over Todd Gurley in a league, and it is like I go to bed at night, and I just have regret. Like, that's literally what it comes down to. I told
you not to take him, bro.
I just want a redo. That's all I need is a redo.
I told you I would have taken Saquon over him if I had to take it last year at 4.
And you're a butthead.
I was right so far.
My instant reaction is stat of the day because I got a Case Keenum stat here for you. He is the only NFL starting quarterback with at least 1 interception in every single game played this year.
Ballin'.
Add the Broncos to the teams that should have drafted a quarterback this year because I know Bradley Chubb played well today. He had another 3 sacks today. And I liked the Case Keenum signing. And I liked the idea of signing him to a 2-year deal because of the fact I think they were picking 5th in the draft, 5th or 6th.
Yeah, they wanted Barkley.
You can have Keenum. You can draft a quarterback. There's not the pressure for him to immediately start. But instead they went the other route. And I get it. Maybe they didn't like one of the quarterbacks in this draft.
They wanted Darnold, who got taken before them.
Well, correct. But, okay, so that brings me to my next point. So maybe you don't like the other options. Maybe you're waiting for another class. What other class is going to have this many people, this many options of people that were more likely to succeed? I know it might not have been Elway's guy, but who is Elway's guy? The guy that John Elway in the introductory press conference called Case Kasem? There's no way. Like, I don't believe it for a second. Like, I don't know why. Just add them to the list of teams that should have taken a quarterback this year.
This is the same team that replaced Peyton Manning with Brock Osweiler.
Hey, guess who got a W today?
He got a W today.
He's just eating W's. Oh, I'm pumped up to talk about this next game because it's your squad. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars who lost to the Dallas Cowboys 40-7. Is 40 points by the Cowboys more than they've scored all year combined?
I don't know what the fuck happened there.
Tell me your instant reaction then, because I
My
want to
instant
hear it.
reaction is, baby, come back. I'm feeling it with the music. I honestly believe they desperately need Fournette to come back healthy. Because the key to this team's success is control the ball by running it with him 500 times and playing good defense. And that opens up the play action, more openings for my boy Blake, and it helps them a lot. That's when they're at their strength. Run it, control the ball.
Does it hurt?
Shove it down their throat. It doesn't hurt. It feels fine.
You can still say, like, Blake Bortles and your boy in the same sentence. Like, you're still claiming him.
Yeah, I mean, he had one touchdown, one interception. He didn't really throw that much, only 26 times. So it really wasn't even on him.
I saw his interception. That was on him. That was terrible.
Yeah, but he also made a great throw to D.B. Westbrook early before that for that long touchdown.
Nice. That was nice.
So, I mean, the defense just played terribly, especially against the lowest scoring offense in the league versus the best scoring defense. They just gave up 40 points to Dak Prescott. Again, another bet that I went 0-3. I just whiffed on. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, thanks for talking about bets, because that rolls right into my instant reaction, because it's finito, done. And I stole that from Pat Shurmur, because that was his reaction when they were talking about all the locker room and the sideline antics of the Giants. But man, I got to be done betting on the Jags. I loved them this week because of what you just said. The fact that they have that awesome defense. They have an offense that can score in like spurts, and I just thought they were due after getting shut down by the Chiefs. And you go into Dallas, who has Zeke Elliott and what else? Like you said, Dak Prescott looked fine today. Like, he was hitting receivers. Like, Gallup was scoring. Gallup doesn't score. Like,
Beasley.
Yeah, Beasley. And like, how does this happen against the Jaguars? Like, how does this happen? So until the Jaguars can prove a little bit more, both offensively and now defensively, I mean, they're this great defense, and they just got hosed by the freaking Chiefs, and they just gave up 40 to the Cowboys. I'm done. Finito. No more betting on the Jaguars for quite some time.
Think about it. The two best defenses I consider this year, the Bears and the Jags, both just got torched by average offenses or below average offenses. Not even average, below average offenses.
Yeah. That was the first game that the Bears had allowed over 100 yards to a running back, and they allowed it to Frank Gore. Yeah,
that was ridiculous.
Who, by the way,
Kenyon Drake.
Oh man, we could have a whole podcast on Kenyon Drake. I don't want to even talk about him right now.
Yeah.
Ooh.
He made up for it.
Let's wrap a little bit. Yeah.
A little bit.
Let's wrap this puppy up with a shutout. The Ravens shut out the
You go ahead.
Titans. You want me to lead this one off?
Yeah.
Okay, so team manager is my instant reaction, because I am now accepting applications for anyone out there. Throw in your resume, put in a cover letter, whatever you need. I can draft a fantasy team. I have no issues doing that. I get players that I like. My players produce. And if someone asks me, who should I use this week? More often than not, I give pretty damn good advice. But on my own team, I cannot play the right guys. And once again, I bench Alex Collins. I benched Emmanuel Sanders today.
Wow.
All these guys had two touchdowns. Like,
why would you do that? The Rams secondary is fucking terrible.
I just had a feeling. I had a weird feeling at 11:55. We're Central Time.
With how high you've been on Emmanuel Sanders, you can't bench at all this year. At all. Doesn't matter. I mean, you were the one that got it at the beginning of the season. Yep. I was wrong, but now at this point, what the fuck were you doing?
Like I said, find us on Twitter. We're at Loaded Box. Send in a cover letter, a resume. If you're a girl, send a pic. I might pick based on that.
Yeah, nice.
I might go to that. Which reminds me, if you have some free time, you're going to want to head over to pristineauction.com, because they've got daily auctions packed with all the stuff that you can fill into your man cave. They guarantee their items authenticity. They all come with certifications. So make sure you head over there. It's more affordable than you think. A lot of people think, you got to pay out of your ass for all this signed memorabilia. You bid, you only pay when you win. It's quick. It's free to register. Make sure you mention the Loaded Box podcast when you register in the How Did You Hear About Us section. But most importantly, head to pristineauction.com today. Fill that man cave up with all sorts of Brock Osweiler gear, because, man, that's going to be relevant for about another 5-6 days, however long it is until next Sunday. You got anything else you want to add?
Hungover is my single syllable. Let's end this, baby.
The best single syllable yet. So I just said, check us out on Twitter at LoadedBox. Check out the website, loadedboxpodcast.com. Next episode, we'll be back midweek for our Week 7 NFL Fantasy Football Preview Pod. We're available on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube. You name it, we're likely on it. DJ, why don't you go ahead and send us away?
Bye.
Well done.